What's going on, people? What's really good? It's your boy Marv, and this is the Nerds in the Hood. Folks, I needed some time to really think about if I wanted to do a video like this. And that time has seemingly come, assuming that this ends up seeing YouTube. But if you weren't aware, last week was a week. We lose people almost every day, but when it's celebrities, it's sometimes almost a bigger deal. So we lost a few celebrities. Usually we say, as they say, death comes in threes. But it was four and it's not in my personal opinion. We lost four. We lost legendary jazz musician Chuck Mangione. We lost legendary rock musician Ozzy Osbourne. Lost legendary actor, fellow musician, award-winning entertainer Malcolm-Jamal Warner, and we lost wrestling's icon Hulk Hogan. He don't got to be an icon anymore, but he still was what he was. Now, I really wanted to just do a video just to talk about the impact that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had on my life, but things went super left. Not because of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing, because more in the sense of Hulk Hogan's passing. Hulk Hogan's passing divided the whole entire world. Nobody knew how to act anymore. It was almost like we were voting for Trump and everybody was taking sides the first time Trump ran. And it really bothered me. It really did, because people were in a position where they felt as if the real question was, do we still honor him despite the bad things that he did that we found out before he left this world, or do we not honor him because of what we know? What were we gonna do? And I just wanted to say some of my thoughts on that. Honestly, I don't want to spend 20-30 minutes on it, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about it coming from the Nerds in the Hood perspective for what it's worth. First off, my condolences to all the families of these four men who have passed away last week. My condolences to everybody who lost somebody last week, because I didn't just lose four celebrities that I knew and was like, oh, these are dope people. I also lost a friend of mine too, really awesome lady named Lisa Harmon. Thoughts and prayers go out to her family. She was awesome. She did a lot of projects I did in comedy. She helped me do a lot of things in comedy. She was dope. And at the end of the day, I'd be remiss if I didn't big her up. But we lost a lot of people. And Chuck Mangione, if you didn't know about jazz, then you probably wouldn't know who this guy was. But he was a legendary jazz musician, He was really dope. One of his hit singles was Feel So Good. Listen to it. Yeah, it's a long song. It's almost 10 minutes. But it's still a fire song. And growing up where I grew up in New York City, there was a jazz radio station known as CD 101.9 WQCD in New York. And it was dope. It was jazz 24/7, smooth jazz. It wasn't sometimes they played that little tougher jazz, but most of the time it was smooth jazz. And it made me fall in love with the genre of jazz. I didn't care. I was a kid. What was I caring about jazz? And to hear this stuff, it was dope. And when I heard his song, I was like, oh, this song is so smooth. It's wavy, and I loved it. So he was a real impactful person in my life in terms of that song. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't that impactful in my life, and that's not a knock on him. However, I do remember what he's done for pop culture, whether it was biting the head off a bat, just being a straight up rock star, having a reality show in the age that reality shows just started pumping up. He was one of the originals of celebrities getting their own reality show and you taking a look into their life. And I appreciate him letting me take a look into his life, seeing more about his wife and his kids and his dogs and everything, right? But time went on, and we always got to remember that. Father Tom is undefeated. Sucks. Which brings me to Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Hulk Hogan. Malcolm-Jamal Warner is one of the most influential people to me in terms of my life and in terms of entertainment. When he did The Cosby Show, And it kind of sucks that after he passed, we started seeing Cosby Show clips all over again, which before we wasn't because of the whole Bill Cosby situation. But, you know, we have to take it as we take it. So the Cosby Show, he was Theo Huxtable, a young man who grew up in a household full of women, right? Outside of his dad. It was his mother and several of his sisters. And I could relate because I grew up in a household with 2 sisters. I had no brother. So a lot of dudes don't, know that. We gravitate. These are my brothers. I'm like, this is my brother. I love him like a brother. Because I didn't have a brother growing up. I have brothers-in-law now, but I didn't have a brother growing up. I didn't know what I was like. I was just the youngest boy in a family of 2. And when I watched that show, it made me feel like, oh, this is interesting. And yeah, that template ended up getting used down the line with a lot of other characters in TV shows, whether it's like animated like Bart Simpson or non-animated like Carlton Banks or just somebody like Eddie Winslow. That template started growing more and more. And I don't know if it started with Theo Huxtable, but I know he was one of the first people I saw do it. And it was cool to see how he interacted living with girls all the time, because it was not easy. Like, let's be real. It's not easy for anybody, but it was doable and you had to do it. And to see him grow up and start doing things like public service announcements and TV specials where he tries to save young black kids' lives. And I watched him later in a show called Malcolm and Eddie, where he owned a business. He owned a restaurant, bar and restaurant, and he was out there just trying to make ends meet. That was cool. Watching him on the Magic School Bus, or hearing him rather, say what he had to say, like in terms of answering questions. He was the dude at the end who would be like, oh, you talking about when Miss Frizzle did this? Well, you see, it's actually pretty true. Let me explain. That was pretty cool. I always thought in my mind, I was like, what if he the principal on the low and he like, yo, I got to answer for all her hijinks? I don't know. But I thought that was cool too, because at the end of it, you just got a black man just being very intelligent. So as a black man, to see him do a lot of those things and still keep going over time and still be in TV shows, it was amazing. It was amazing. And we always joke about it. We always joke about different moments on the Cosby Show, like when he wore that shirt, or when he did the song, or when he got deaded on that dance show. You always remember those things. And he was a legend for that. So I always just am mindful of who he was and the impact he had on my life, as well as a lot of other people of color's life. Which brings us to the main event. No pun intended, but it's what it is. Hulk Hogan. We coming for you. Nope. Hulk Hogan. See, and here's what made it crazy. Because all of these other people, they passed, they were entertainers, right? They all were entertainers. We got actors, musicians. They were entertainers. And nobody was mad when they passed. Nobody was like, good riddance, this, that, and the third. Nobody was saying that. When Hulk Hogan passed away, everybody on one side was like, oh, there goes an icon. Goodbye to such an amazing person, the person who made wrestling what it is today. We wouldn't have this without him, and we wouldn't have had that without him. And then on the other side was people that was like, man, I'm glad he gone. I hope he in hell. And it was just like, whoa. Granted, folks, he did leave out on a bit of a sour note. We found out that he said some things that were unfortunately, they were unfortunately racist. And it hurt. And that's why I think the place that people are coming from is. In the 80s, he was a man who could not be stopped. He was the epitome. He was what you wanted to see. He was the mountaintop of wrestling. He single-handedly made people watch wrestling. You said all his quotes. You tried to do the things he asked you to do. You went to bed, you said your prayers. You woke up, you ate your vitamins. You drank your milk. You did push-ups. You tried to lift weights because you wanted to be like him. You flexed and was like, look at these pythons, brother. Like, you did all of that stuff because you wanted to be like him. And there was nothing wrong with that in the 80s. He was on cartoons. I think he had video games. He was merchandise, everything. He was everywhere. He was in movies. You know what I'm saying? He was that dude. And in the 90s, just when we thought he was going to ride off into the sunset, no. He left the WWE and went to WCW and became just as big of a star there. Hollywood Hulk Hogan and the New World Order, one of the greatest factions of all time. And you got to love him again in WCW. Then WCW calmed down, came back to WWE. We loved him a little bit again. Went to TNA, loved him a little bit again. We rocked with him all the way to the 2010s, pretty much, right? And then things went left because homie we found out stuff where he started saying things about black people badly. He tried to be down, it just wasn't working. When Trump ran for president, we found out he was in full favor of Trump after Trump said so many out-of-pocket things, and people just started liking him less until his last televised wrestling appearance, when he showed up on WWE Monday Night Raw, on his first episode on Netflix. They thought they could use this man to try to pull some of the old heads, because what happens is a lot of old heads stop watching wrestling, and the first people they can always think of when they bring wrestling back up to them is the old heads. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. Do you bring up all of these people? The only ones that are close enough to probably modern that they can think of is like John Cena, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, right? But you're not thinking about those guys. You're thinking about the old OGs. The ones that when Hulk Hogan was around, these were the people you wanted to see. So at the end of the day, we got to that point, and when he came out for Raw, they booed that man down. And then pretty much at this point, months later, he was gone. And he had a lot of other projects in the works that he was trying to get off the ground, but they're most likely going to have to move on without him. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not sitting here saying anything bad about that man. I will not act as if he didn't do anything bad. But I will also accept the fact that he is gone, and I have no reason to really still harbor any anger towards that man. He's resting right now. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever happens at this point. He lived his life. He paid for his mistakes. Would we have wanted him to take more accountability? Of course. Of course. We would have wanted him to get on a platform and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize what I did was wrong. We would have wanted him to do that. Some wrestlers of color, such as Devon Dudley of the legendary Dudley Boys, have openly said, this man apologized to me. While some didn't feel the apology was really that heartfelt. So he tried. There was an inkling of trying there, but it just wasn't enough for some people. And a lot of us, we just couldn't get over it because, again, it's that old-fashioned saying of don't meet your heroes, right? You see somebody like this, like if we saw Michael Jordan, like granted, Michael Jordan was wilding, but if we saw Michael Jordan say something out of pocket, a lot of us wouldn't know how to act. Or if we saw Barack Obama, who's now not a president anymore, we just caught him on camera and he said something out of pocket, whether it was racist, sexist, whatever. A lot of people would have been like, because that's not who you expect to be the one to do that. So when you see a guy who spent countless years saying, take your vitamins, eat your vegetables, say your prayers, right? And never give up. And you wanted to go out and do push-ups because of him. You took all the vitamins you could. You looked up all the vitamins that was healthy enough for you to take, and you took all of that. And you wanted to see him win every single match that he could. And you were happy for the good days and sad for the bad days. When you watched wrestling, he made you feel that emotion. To see all of that, to see the times where you saw him in other TV shows like Thunder in Paradise or what's the name of that joint? Three Ninjas, Kickback at High Noon, whatever. When you saw all of those joints, you felt like, yo, this dude's that dude. Even when you saw that little reality show, there was hints. There was hints. When he sang Young Jeezy like 3 times trying to know the words, there was hints. But you didn't think it. You don't think it. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. So when we saw it, like, none of us know how to act. And our hearts were broken. And he didn't really do a good job on damage control. But I say that to say that he still paid his dues in a way, because he was still trying to live his life. But it just was like, yo, fam, we just ain't rocking with you. So if he did get off the businesses off the ground, who knows who would have showed up, because a lot of us was already done. So all I'm saying that to say is we got to let it go. He's not here anymore. We can't come back 20, 30 years later and still go, oh man, I didn't like Hulk Hogan. Nah, he's gone. He's gone. It sucks, but he's gone. And from a black perspective, just being honest, it is, I don't really get mad at it, because at the end of the day, I remember when Michael Jackson passed away or when Kobe Bryant passed away. Those were really sad situations, because, especially Kobe, because nobody saw it coming. So when you sit here and you have somebody like Kobe Bryant who passed away, and then you go online and see people go, good for him. Good for him. He's a rape. He's this, right? And you're hearing all of these things and you're going, whoa, the dude just passed away too soon. It's a similar vein as when Hulk Hogan passed away and we were like, don't forget who he is. Don't forget what he is, right? And I'm not saying that it's fair, but what I am saying is we can understand on this side. Because we remember when our two legends went out and y'all just kind of sat there and bashed them all the way to the grave. So, not saying he got to eat that, but he did say eat your vegetables, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say, I will keep him in my prayers in terms of his family, because his family doesn't deserve any of the disrespect that was thrown at him. His daughter is not the reason he was who he was. Neither was his wife. Neither was his son. They just had to tolerate it because that was their dad. That was their husband. People got to tolerate it for who they are. They can try and change the person, but if they don't want to change, can't say nobody don't want to be saved. You feel me? So I feel like we can be mad. If we're going to be mad at him, be mad at him, right? If you want to take that with you to the grave, your grave, that's fine. But we got to leave the family out of this. When Brooke Hogan is walking up and down the street, you can't be yelling at her because she is the daughter of somebody you didn't like. That has nothing to do with her. She going to live her life till it's her time. So that's all I'm saying to people. Let's leave the families alone. Just focus on Hulk Hogan. You ain't like him? Cool. You want to go online and bash him even though he can't defend himself anymore? Cool, I guess. But to write, oh, forget you, Brooke Hogan, and to write to anybody who just feels a type of way. We don't know why they feel the way they feel about Hulk Hogan or any other person, but we got to leave that alone. Chelsea Green, another WWE superstar, current superstar, took a break from social media because she wrote that we lost an icon in Hulk Hogan, and the world went crazy. They came at her, they bashed her, and it was just like, you already know why she don't, we don't know. I was about to say something wild, but we don't know what we don't know, and how she feels is how she feels. She's a grown woman. I'm not going to go and bash her on her opinion. I'm just going to leave her alone. At the end of the day, she didn't say he was a remarkable man. She just said we lost an icon, because we did. In wrestling, he was a great man. But unfortunately, when that man clocked out, it's just things we ain't know. You know what I'm saying? Just like any other job, right? When you on the clock, you're going to be the best version of yourself you could ever be. But when you clock out, there's things we just don't know. That doesn't give him a pass. It just means like it is what it is, and we have to just learn to move on. Within the next week, we should be over all of this Hulk Hogan stuff, and we should just say rest in peace and move on. Because that's where I'm at right now. So that's one final leg drop here. I'm going to call it 1, 2, 3. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Chuck Mangione, Ozzy Osbourne, and a good friend of mine, Miss Lisa Harmon. Thanks for making everybody entertained, for all the times you entertain people. Nerds in the Hood, y'all. Catch y'all next time. Peace.